there! This is our last week of writing poetry. Last week we wrote some poetry about animals, and this week we're going to write some poetry about food. The first poem that I'm going to share with you today is about breakfast. What do you like to have for breakfast? That sounds really yummy. Well, we're going to read a silly poem today about breakfast. The first time that I read it, I'm going to explain some words to you. All right? Here is the poem called The Meal by Carla Cuskin. Timothy Tompkins had turnips and tea. Turnips are like vegetables that grow in the ground, and they're kind of like carrots, but they're white. Yeah. The turnips were tiny. He ate at least 3. And then for dessert, he had onions and ice. He liked that so much that he ordered it twice. He had 2 cups of ketchup, a prune, and a pickle. Delicious, said Timothy, well worth a nickel. He folded his napkin and hastened to add. Hasten to add means that he said it quickly. It's one of the loveliest breakfasts I've had. Loveliest means it was the best. Okay, now I'm going to read it one more time, and I would like you to visualize in your head with your eyes closed. Make a picture in your mind of what Timothy Tompkins is eating for breakfast. Here we go. Are your eyes closed? Ready to listen? The Meal by Carla Cuskin. Timothy Tompkins had turnips and tea. The turnips were tiny. He ate at least 3. And then for dessert, he had onions and ice. He liked that so much that he ordered it twice. He had 2 cups of ketchup, a prune, and a pickle. Delicious, said Timothy, well worth a nickel. He folded his napkin and hastened to add, it's one of the loveliest breakfasts I've had. What did you visualize while you were reading that poem? Well, I was reading that poem. What did Timothy Tompkins eat for breakfast? Yeah, you might have said that he had turnips, tea, onions, ice, ketchup, a prune, and a pickle. Those are the things he ate for breakfast. What was silly about this poem? Yeah, it was super silly. It doesn't make sense that you would have all those weird things for breakfast. This poem is just meant to be really silly and to make you laugh. Do you want to try echo reading it with me? My turn and then your turn. Here we go. The Meal. I picked up the unicorn from the classroom on Monday so that we could use it for poetry. Timothy Tompkins had turnips and tea. The turnips were tiny. He ate at least 3. And then for dessert, he had onions and ice. He liked that so much that he ordered it twice. He had 2 cups of ketchup, a prune, and a pickle. Delicious, said Timothy. Well worth a nickel. He folded his napkin and hastened to add, it's one of the loveliest breakfasts I've had. Good job. We're going to read another poem about food, and then we're going to try writing one. Let's look at what the next poem is. Our next poem for today is called Crunch and Lick by Dorothy Aldous. This poem is about foods that you can crunch and foods that you can lick. Okay? First, I'm going to read it and I might be explaining some words, and then the next time we'll visualize, and then we'll echo read. Here we go. Crunch and Lick by Dorothy Aldous. Popcorn crunches, peanuts do. The cone part of an ice cream cone is wonderful for crunching too. Things to lick are candy sticks. So candy sticks is anything that's like a stick of candy. So it could be like a candy cane or a lollipop, a candy stick. Rainbow colored popsicles. Chocolate sauce when it begins to leak and trickle down our chins. Trickle means to drip. So it's like dripping down your face because it's melting. Okay. Now, when I'm going to read it, I want you to visualize with your eyes closed. Here we go. Crunch and lick. Popcorn crunches, peanuts do. The cone part of an ice cream cone is wonderful for crunching too. Things to lick are candy sticks, rainbow-colored popsicles, chocolate sauce when it begins to leak and trickle down our chins. Okay. What words did you hear in that poem that were about how food sounds or looks? What words did you hear that were about how food sounds or looks? Is crunching a sound? Yeah, that's a sound. Rainbow colored is how something looks. If something is rainbow, that's what color it is. So that could be how it looks. Anything else? What foods can you crunch? The poet said peanuts, popcorn, and a cone of an ice cream cone. What else can you crunch? You could crunch chips, crackers. What else could you crunch? What other foods can you lick? The poet says candy sticks, popsicles, and chocolate sauce. What else can you lick? Ice cream. You could lick the juice if you're eating an orange. Yeah, there's other things you could lick too. Let's echo read this poem. Okay, ready for my turn and your turn. Popcorn crunches, peanuts do. The cone part of an ice cream cone is wonderful for crunching too. Things to lick are candy sticks, rainbow-colored popsicles, chocolate sauce when it begins to leak and trickle down our chins. Good job. If you were going to write a poem about food, what food would you write about? Those are some interesting ideas. We're going to go to the other side and look at my food words chart that I just made. We're going to talk about some other foods that we can write about, and then I am going to write my own poem about one of my favorite foods. Here we go. Over here I have a chart called Food Words. This is where I'm going to put my ideas for food that I could write a poem about. Do you already have an idea for what food you could write a poem about? Okay. If you already have an idea, then you can go ahead and write down the food that you want to write about. And I'm going to write some ideas about the foods that I want to write about. I have strawberry, spaghetti, pizza, and rice up here. First today, we're going to think about what the food sounds like, and looks like. So, and maybe what it tastes like too. So for a strawberry, think about eating a strawberry. What does that look like or sound like or taste like? Yeah. My ideas are that it is juicy and it's sweet. What else does it look like? What is it shaped like? It has like a pointed bottom and kind of a bumpy top, kind of like a heart. So it might be heart shaped. Juicy, sweet, and heart shaped. That's a good start. All right. How about spaghetti? Spaghetti kind of is in a pile, and it can be kind of messy. I'm going to write piled high and messy. What does spaghetti sound like? That's called a slurp. What would spaghetti sound like if it dropped on the floor? Can everyone say splat? Slurp, splat. So far, I have strawberry, juicy, sweet, heart-shaped. Spaghetti, piled high, messy, slurp, splat. Can you write some words that have to do with the food that you're thinking about? I'll give you a minute to do that. All right, you should have a couple words about what you're writing about. I'm going to keep going with my ideas. The next one is pizza. Pizza is really hot, cheesy, and stringy. I'm going to write that. Hot, cheesy, stringy. It also has a lot of things on it. What are the things that are on pizza called? They're called toppings. Lots of toppings. Okay. What about rice? Rice is really tiny, but it's also sticky and puffy when you put it together. Sticky, puffy, and fluffy, like a cloud. Okay, here's what my chart says. Strawberry, juicy, sweet, heart-shaped. Spaghetti, piled high, messy, slurp, splat. Pizza, hot, cheesy, stringy, lots of toppings. Rice, tiny, sticky, puffy, fluffy. Do you have some ideas for what you could write about your food? It sounds like you have some great ideas for food so far. Think about, when you're thinking about your food, think about what it sounds like, and what it looks like, and what it tastes like when you're thinking about writing your poem about your food. The last thing that I'm going to do with you today is I'm going to show you my poem about one of the foods from my list. What food do you think I'm going to write about? Let's see. The poem that I'm going to write about is about a strawberry. Here's my drawing of my strawberry. So now when I'm thinking of what to write about the strawberry, I'm going to think about the notes that I took. I wrote juicy, sweet, and heart-shaped. So when I write my poem, I might start with the sweet part, because that's the first thing I kind of think of when I am thinking of strawberries. So I'm going to write sweet juice when I bite into the strawberry, the juice kind of like runs down my chin. It makes me think of the chocolate sauce in the poem that we just read. So I'm going to say sweet juice running down my chin. What else could I write about strawberries? Sometimes strawberries are really big, and sometimes they're really little. You know, when you get a box of strawberries, they're all different sizes. So I might write big, small, and when I was drawing my picture, I put all these dots on here because strawberries have little dots on the outside. Did you know that those dots are seeds? Yeah, those dots are strawberry seeds. So I'm going to write little seeds. Make them bumpy. I might say make it bumpy so I don't run out of room. Little seeds make it bumpy. And tomorrow, we're gonna come back to my strawberry poem, and I'm gonna add some more details. Before we go today, do you want to read my strawberry poem with me? Here we go. Strawberry. Sweet juice running down my chin. Big, small, little seeds make it bumpy. Today, I want you to use your writing time to start writing a poem about the food that you're thinking about. Think about how it sounds, looks, and tastes when you're writing. And I'll see you tomorrow for some more fun food poetry, and we'll add to my strawberry poem. See you then.